Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Exorcist, Season 1, Episode 3. It's called Chapter 3, Let Him In. Full spoilers for the episode will follow. Now, Casey is determined to get creepier as the episodes continue, it seems.
Yeah. Can I just say, I thought this episode was actually excellent.
Really? Okay, you're
I really like this episode.
you're high on this episode.
Yeah.
I liked it. I don't know if I feel that strongly. Like I enjoyed it as much as I did last week. I don't know if I'm, you
I,
know.
I I think this is, I don't know, this seemed like much better than the last couple to me.
All right, okay.
And I liked the last couple, don't get me wrong.
I thought there was a couple of great standout moments. Don't get me wrong. I think the two Casey scenes that we're going to talk about heavily. I think sure. Um, some of the church politics, maybe not as
Yeah,
hot
I'm
in
kind of
those.
into it.
Are you into the church politics?
I
Okay.
kind of am.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. um, because well, I suppose we'll mention that first. Father Marcus is a sort of, I can't remember the exact word to use. Essentially, the equivalent of being discharged from
Excommunicated.
excommunicated. That's the word. And he's basically told to leave Chicago because he leaves. I mean, I assume he'll be back. He has to be at some point. But
Be surprised if he wasn't.
yeah, but he's going off on a trip, and I I have no idea what we're going to follow him doing next episode, but
I'm interested to see.
I am interested because Father, I think Father Bennett, I believe his name is. Um,
Yes.
I don't want to call him. I'm tempted to call him. Oh God, no, his name's right in my head. I zombie. Was
Clive.
Clive Babineau. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. I'm tempted to call him not Babineau, but no, I'll call him by his name. So yeah, he's been very anti exorcism, anti Marcus, just in general. But there was an interesting moment with him after the whole excommunication. After Marcus gets that news, and there's a scene where he talks to him. It almost sounds like he does believe things are going on, and that Marcus should look into things.
Yeah, which begs the question as to why is he acting otherwise around other members of the
Yeah, the
church?
superior. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure. My understanding of all the titles and the
Bishops. I think it was a bishop above him.
is that a bishop? Yeah.
I think it was a bishop.
Yeah, but my understanding of the Catholic Church hierarchy is not
Look at that.
up to snuff.
I spent my entire life in Catholic school. I know what I'm talking about.
Sure you do. You're the advisor on this then.
Aye.
I suppose this is a good time to talk about So there was not a lot of organ harvesting this episode, but there was homeless man bursting into flames outside of the church. And by church, I don't mean the actual physical building. I mean just the people of the church.
The meeting
Yeah,
groups. Yeah.
and that was a well done scene actually. I thought he looked quite, it looked good.
Yeah. No, it
Look,
did.
looked satanic. Well, in fact, if I'm going to make a comment about the show so far, and how it's sort of like not quite my expectations, not in a bad way necessarily, but I feel like I was never expecting everything to be obviously real at this point. I was expecting it to at least be half a season of most people not really sure if anything is real, but when someone bursts into flames in front of you, I feel like,
It's a pretty good sign, isn't it?
between that scene and between the scene where they actually talk to Casey, I feel like, okay, everyone's in this. Everyone knows there's actually demonic activity going on. Like, there's no
Yeah,
doubt,
yeah.
which I was not expecting this early on.
No, I wasn't either, but I appreciate it because there's no being coy, trying to hide things. It's like, now we can show you stuff.
Yeah, which sets it apart. It sets it apart from kind of the movie, certainly from other possession stories,
Yeah.
and what I would expect to be the case. So, no, that's all. That's all good. So let's talk about Casey.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Uh, I guess we'll roughly go in order. Well, we'll start with the scene. So Tomas gets her in with Marcus, and they try to have a chat. And
More of a
Tomas,
interrogation.
yeah. Well, Tomas clearly shows in this scene that he is not prepared for this. He does not know how to speak to her what to ask. Like, he starts asking her to move a pen with her mind, and
Yeah, it starts like, oh, can you understand me? He's speaking a different language. It's like, can you speak in
yeah.
tongues and stuff?
Whereas Marcus steps in and clearly understands how to draw the demon out. He pushes her buttons. He starts talking about things that will get a reaction at her, and in doing so will affect the
Yeah,
demon, who appears to be like in her head a manifestation of this salesman. Like
yeah,
this salesman is the manifestation to her, and how she is processing what the demon is to her. And we see more of him in this episode as well, which I actually again really liked that we didn't like. I almost expected to just get little glimpses of him for weeks and weeks, but in this episode it's full on. He's talking to her, he's getting her to steal dresses, he's
it's very creepy.
presumably stole the watch, and actually to go to the opening scene, which is a
Yeah,
flashback to Kat
mm.
and her friend Julie or Juliet.
Julia.
Julia. Okay, I said two things that sounded like that, but not
They're all
that.
pretty similar.
Yeah,
I think it's Julia, and then they say Julie for short or something. Oh, no, it's
yeah.
Jules, isn't it?
Jules.
Uh,
I'm just gonna split the difference and call Jewel. Jewel covers every single name we just said.
Pretty much.
But so first of all, good call on her having a lesbian relationship.
Yeah.
But what I really, really liked about this scene, I thought this scene was exceptionally well shot because we focus on Kat's face the whole time. And there was like a brief moment at the start where I was thinking, oh, maybe this is going to come off as being really, TV flashback cheesy. This is someone who's watched 5 seasons or 4 seasons of Arrow. Like, I've got an expectation of flashbacks on TV now.
Yeah.
Arrow basically killed every bit of goodwill that Lost ever built up when it comes to flashbacks. But what was really smart about this is the entire scene focuses on Kat's face. We never
It
see
does.
Julia's face. And the great thing about it is the conversation, the dialogue that they actually have is first. Julia says why she likes Kat, and she gives these various reasons, and why she loves her, and so on. And it sort of hints that the relationship is a romantic one, and so on. But then it switches to Kat, and Kat starts describing why she loves her, and the first thing she starts talking about is her face. But we never see her face. We see her chin maybe a little bit, but it stays on Kat. And
Yeah.
Kat describes her face, the beauty of her face, her eyes, everything, goes into detail. I can't remember the exact wording, but she extensively, for a good minute, talks about her face.
Yeah.
And the first time we see her face is after the car actually crashes, and it's like covered in blood and mangled. And I thought that was a really nice touch that
It's very effective.
we don't get to see what she was talking about. We just get to see the horror show.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very effective stuff. Like you say, it was fantastically shot, and I'm surprised at how good it was. Because, like you say, I went in and I was like, oh, okay. But no, pleasantly surprised.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the figure she sees on the road that makes her swerve, was that the salesman?
I wasn't sure because it cuts very quickly, doesn't it?
It was a very quick glimpse. If it wasn't him, it's still demonic intervention. I'm sure of that. I am positive of that, 100%.
No reason to suspect not.
But I was thinking salesman.
Yeah, I could see it.
It looked like salesman. Obviously, if I go back and pause it, I could just tell. But
Yeah, but that ruins the fun, doesn't it?
it does, yeah. None of this frame by frame nonsense. It's not Mr. Robot. We're not looking for Easter eggs. But
Exactly.
no, opening scene was great. Really, really, and it's kind of like for the first time I actually gave a crap about Kat. Like I've not really cared about her character at all in the first 2 episodes.
I think that was almost intentional because obviously the whole thing we've seen had been very closed off and in a grief and just on her own, and it's hard to connect to that because she's not welcoming any connection. This is the first time we see her be a person.
Yeah, and be happy and so on. So the scene later on when she takes Casey to this, like, it's because she was part of a ballet group and
True.
troupe. Thank
I
you.
believe that's the correct word for that.
You're the advisor for both the Catholic Church and ballet now, apparently. But she comes in and she can't do it anymore because in the crash she hurt her leg. Obviously, got off light compared to Julia, but she hurt her leg and she can't do ballet anymore, at least not for a while. And Casey starts being inappropriate, and like they do that thing where they pour the drink and they all take swigs of the bottle, and Casey just sort of hogs it and takes several drinks, and then starts mouthing off, and you feel really bad for Kat. Like, I never thought going into this episode I'd be feeling things for Kat, but I felt it in this scene. Like, she's properly, because I was already thinking that maybe the rest of her team here might not blame her, but like have this weird feeling towards her because she was driving the car, because she was there and she lived, and Julia didn't. You know?
Do you know what is bad? Because you can see obviously she feels the guilt because she was driving, but it happens as Julia says, "Look at me." So she turns her head to look, and then that's when the crash happens. So it's kind of like it's like an equal blame sort of thing.
It's funny actually because obviously we picked up in the first episode that there was a car crash, right? So when she said "look at me," I'm like, no, don't be stupid.
I know. As soon as she says that, it's like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, this is the crash. I mean, obviously the scene was leading to the crash. Otherwise, why would we be watching her in a car?
But it's like that. It's when she says that, you know exactly the moment it's coming, and that's quite rough. But obviously, they say she obviously must feel guilty. We can see it's kind of like an equal thing because. And obviously there's demonic intervention as well. So it's like, does that negate the blame? I don't know. Still, I mean, still shouldn't be taking your eyes off the road, I suppose. But
well, yeah, but I mean, I think all drivers do glance around a bit.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't look over at her for longer than like a second.
No, she didn't. But obviously, let's say that all the friends are probably. They must have some feeling of resentment.
Yeah, probably underlying. And obviously this is what demons feed on, because we hear a lot in this episode about how maybe why it's manifested in Casey is like the competition between her and her sister, and how the sister was the one who went and did ballet and was the proper girl, where she was the tomboy, and maybe there was some sort of weird rivalry, even though they were kind of friendly, that there was like a resentment there, deep inside, and that's what let the demon in.
Yeah, they're constantly asking. It's like, oh, do you like her? And she's like, she's my sister. It's like, well, it doesn't mean you have to like her. And I thought it was interesting because obviously that's a very real thing. Just because you're related to someone doesn't mean you like them all the time or at all. But you're expected to, of course. Yeah. But I think it's interesting to play on that for the demonic angle as well.
Yeah. For the record, we're not related, and I hate you, so.
Nah, exactly.
So yeah. No. So to go back to the scene in the office with Tomas and Marcus questioner, and eventually he pushes her buttons just enough, and what's interesting is the salesman's over her shoulder, and he's like, "Get up and leave. Don't answer these questions. Get up and leave." And he's like wanting her to go. He's not wanting to be drawn out. But he eventually pushes the buttons just enough.
I think one of my favourites when he goes, when I think it was Marcus asked, is the person who gave you this in the room? And she doesn't answer, but it's like the silence is enough to say yes.
What I liked about that as well is like obviously we've seen him like in flashbacks with this kid in Mexico City and whatever, but that to me, that moment sold me that he knows what he's doing more than anything else, because he knew he asked that. Like he clearly has a good idea of how this works, and he asked that right question, and I was almost surprised when he asked it. Like
I was too, but then it's when they look around the room and like just to be sure, like just to see if they can see anything, even though he knows he can't see anything, he still looks anyway.
Yeah. Well, I guess a question would be: is it that he's actually standing there and only she can see him, or is it just in her head that he's standing there?
I got the impression it was just in her head.
Yeah. But, I mean, ultimately, you could argue what is the difference, but I suppose the difference would be if you get a psychic in the room, they should be able to theoretically see something too.
Yeah.
But, no. So, that was a good scene. It was a very sort of typical, get the demon to talk. It speaks in an ancient language. I think it was Aramaic, he said.
Aramaic, yeah.
She was speaking in. And, which of course was one of his points when the bishop like rules it. She needs a therapist. That's all she needs. And they're teaching Aramaic in schools around here, are they?
Does make me wonder why the bishop is so eager not to have this.
It's funny you should ask that. We had a comment on the last episode. Someone was convinced that someone in the church might actually be in things, might actually be possessed themselves, might be a part of the grand plan. And in fact, even at one point in this episode, I can't remember even who asked it, but someone said, "Do you think the church is infiltrated?"
Yeah, they did.
I think it was Marcus. It was Marcus to Father Bennett, I think.
Yeah, I would say maybe that bishop, but then maybe that's too obvious.
Yeah, it probably does seem too obvious, but he seems so dead set against,
Oh, I hope it's the Pope. Do you know what I mean? Just it's so much more interesting if it's the head of the church. It's like, oh, that's real high stakes now.
That's right. There was a lot more Pope teasing this episode. The Pope's coming. The Pope is a coming.
Yeah.
And the woman running this whole organisation that's like preparing for his visit gave Tomas $100,000 to fix up his church and get his congregation going strong.
Aye, pretty nice of her.
That was pretty nice of her. Makes me
For
wonder
now.
what her motives are. Like, what is she up to? You know, make me suspicious.
Yeah. The thing is, she does seem to be very rich, so it's like, okay, maybe this isn't actually that big a deal for her.
Well, she even says she hands out like 3 of them a week.
Yeah.
So,
but you still wonder, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah.
When's this coming back?
yeah, it feels like there's something else there. Again, she could be the Antichrist. That's basically my first thought with everyone on this show. Are they the Antichrist? No, that's the Antichrist. No, I bet that person's the Antichrist. No, they're the Antichrist. Right, so obviously we're all building to the final scene. The final big scene. So obviously they're at this ballet memorial sort of performance. And Casey runs off and her father runs after her. And I thought, Gina Davis, don't let him go. He clearly is not fit to deal with things like this. You know, he's...
Yep.
But, so we find them on... It's not a subway, it's a monorail. So one of the ones up high. So Chicago's one of these cities that have got the high train, which is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
It's
alright, isn't it?
I feel like cities that have that have a very different feel to them.
Yeah, I get it.
Maybe it's because the shot Batman Begins there, but it just feels like Gotham City to me.
I also thought the same thing.
Yeah. So we're on the subway, and it's funny because this starts off being very relatable. I think most people have been on a train, and some drunk idiots get on and start being loud.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I have experienced that far too many a time, and it's always awkward.
And occasionally I have been a drunk idiot. Not like that, but, been loud and a drunk idiot.
Yeah. So you haven't sexually assaulted someone on a
No,
train?
no. Just want to just be very clear. I've not done that.
Yeah. So, but obviously, once the sort of assault type stuff starts happening, obviously that's not happened to me.
Yeah.
Not that I recall, anyway. But like, so even though I can't relate to that, all the awkward looks from everyone else on the train, like that's very like I've seen that, I've felt that, I've been one of those people like, looking over at some nonsense. Not that specifically. I'd like to think I might say something if I seen that. That I wouldn't be. I mean, admittedly, this guy was with like what 7 of his buddies, which is a very daunting task. But my superheroics aside. So again, the dad's drifting off. I was actually probably more terrified of the dad waking up and seeing his daughter be like groped more than anything. Like, that was
more than her doing something else to them.
Yeah, like, well, because obviously once demonic stuff starts happening, it's fiction. It's a TV show. That's just fun. Whereas the dad waking up is it's real. That's a real thing that a dad might see and be like petrified of. And
I get that.
But so that's this guy, because she's in this fancy dress that we seen her steal earlier, and he's groping her and just talking like a complete douchebag, quite frankly. Very rapey, very you're asking for it and that kind of thing, all those sort of stuff. And eventually the lights go out and she grabs his nuts and squeezes and then throws him on the ground.
Before that though, where she sees the salesman.
Oh great, of course, yeah, she's the salesman, yeah.
Where he comes in and kind of takes like it's like the transition almost. Like he goes into her body
Yeah,
with
he
that.
takes control. Yeah, it's kind of almost like the scene earlier on when he took control when they were
Mm.
prompting him. He took control so that he could fight, and she. I mean, she hits a couple of the other guys as well, but she eventually like jumps on top of him and starts like just scratching the hell out of his chest.
Yeah,
And again, the lights are all out and everything's sort of flickering. It's got that sort of, it's almost as if they're going through a tunnel, but they're not. At least I don't think they are.
yeah. It's kind of that low budget horror thing where
Mm,
they've got to hide what they're doing because they can only show you can only do so much on their budget, but
yeah.
it's effective because they know what they're doing with it.
It's pretty effective, and I think obviously Alan Rock wakes up, and like he's obviously confused, and everyone in the train's kind of shocked, and she's standing there with like up to her elbows in blood, just
Yeah,
that, and it's the way she's standing there as well, with just sort of like her hands hanging.
I'm pretty sure she broke his jaw as well.
Oh yeah, she sort of, and it was a really cool jaw break as well because it sort of went like that and snapped it to the side.
Yeah, she kind of puts fingers in her mouth and then kind of pulls around.
Ah
And,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I probably sound stupid, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's very visceral.
Yeah, you feel every kind of crunch and scratch and
Yeah,
all that. So it's very effective. And it's like at this point, if you don't believe there's something like, admittedly, this one more than the other stuff you could argue is maybe need of therapy, but
yeah, because you could say, oh, like adrenaline, dangerous
yeah,
situation. You can pass that one off.
yeah, her talking in an ancient language and doing a man's voice, not so
Yeah,
much.
it's a bit different.
Yeah,
Although she was doing the man's voice in this, it's just you can't really hear it that much.
because of all the noise. Yeah, because she was.
Yeah,
Do you want it rough? I'll give you rough.
yeah.
And the demon man voice. Yeah. But no, that was episode 3.
There was a couple of transitions that I really loved. There was one earlier on that kind of did like a wavy VHS sort of transition,
Hmm.
and then my actual favorite one is when they sat down at the ballet and the salesman hand comes over and kind of starts groping her, and then it just kind of fades to black as that happens.
Oh, of course, we should mention when the salesman appears on the train and she sees him, they make out. Uh,
Yeah,
and all I could think during this scene was, this is the worst day of this actress's life, but it is also the best day of this actor's life.
yeah.
um, yeah, that couldn't have been awkward to film. That could have.
No,
This,
of course
what,
not.
60-year-old man? And
It's very professional of them.
yeah, very professional. But no. So again, but what that does though is it adds to the awkwardness for us. It adds to this is creepy. This is, he's in there. He's invasive. He's,
Yeah,
like, as much as this guy in the train was being rapey and, you know, borderline sexual assault, this thing is like properly violated her already. This thing is inside her.
yeah,
To
yeah.
so
I think that's why they did the sexual assault thing. It kind of highlights the analogy of control and invasion and stuff like that.
yeah, because the demon basically came in and said, no, I'm already violating her.
Yeah,
Get out my way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like this is mine already.
Yeah. Which, all of it's very dark. Actually, I want to point out a shot that I loved. Marcus goes to the family house, and Father Bennett sort of rolls up in a car behind him and, like, shouts on him. And he turns around, and it's just the shot of him. Like, he turns around, and he's got his hat on. He's got his Exorcist hat on. And I just say that because on the poster for the movie, it's like a very famous
Yeah, yeah.
shot of the hat. But he's just like standing there, like, and the camera's like down low, looking up at him. But because he's in full costume and the hat on, it was just a really nice shot. Like, you could print that image and just like shove it on the wall.
Yeah.
That was that nice. So
No, I really like this episode a lot. I'm surprised at how much I did, given that I thought the first episode was, it was pretty good, which is still way better than I expected going in. But now this is like, okay, I'm into this now.
yeah, that's good. So hopefully the lukewarm ratings on Friday aren't enough to kill it. Fox are hopefully accepting that it's low ratings because it's Friday, and it's always going to be like that.
I also think horror typically has lower viewing audiences. I mean, if you look at like a horror film, they're always lower budget because they don't take as much, but they tend to have lower rewards as well, and that's just kind of commonly accepted.
Yeah, I imagine this is probably a lot cheaper than some of the other shows that we've just started. Like, compare this to Timeless or, you
So I think
know,
what else we got on Fox?
Fox. Pitch. Pitch feels more
Even that's probably
expensive.
more
Yeah,
expensive, yeah, given
yeah.
like the big sets and stuff.
I mean, sure, this has the odd like smoke effect or fire effect or something like that, but it's not.
It's not overly extensive on the
Yeah,
CG. It's mostly just acting.
yeah. Whereas Pitch, they have to do like CG crowds and
Mm.
you know, admittedly,
That probably cost them more than this.
yeah. That said, though, once they've done that a few times, they can probably just copy and paste a
Recycle it,
lot of it.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's episode 3 of Exorcist, and once again we have went surprisingly long on this show. So if nothing else, it's given us plenty to talk about. So
Yeah.
hopefully soon we'll get more on this homeless army harvesting organs and
They
Pope's
did say they
arrival.
did say what the organs were for, though. It was for that ritual. There was a specific ritual, wasn't it?
Who said that?
I think it was Marcus when he was talking to Bennett. He was talking about like the specific things that they took, and like it was for summoning a specific demon. I think.
All right, okay, okay.
Did you miss that part?
I didn't miss it, but I just
Don't recall it.
yeah, I watched this like 12 hours ago, something like that,
That's true. I
compared
did
to
just
you, which
yeah.
was just right before we recorded. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, the organs were for a specific summoning ritual, but Bennett says, "Oh, 9. They wouldn't need 9 bodies," and goes, "Unless they're summoning more than one." So, yeah, ominous.
Ominous. Also, if I do have one criticism, maybe this is the reason why I don't remember that conversation too well, is sometimes the dialogue on this show is a little bit mumbly.
Mm, yeah, that's fair.
I find myself more than most shows like sort of what did they just say? Like so
Yeah, yeah. No, that is fair.
yeah. That'd be my one real complaint so far, but I can live past that. So that's The Exorcist episode 3. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz. Check out the other shows we do. But there's a couple of other horror-esque ones. Ash vs Evil Dead's on, and Scream Queens. Of course, they're more on the silly side of horror, but maybe you'll enjoy those too. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.